All right, here we go. The Dungeons of Cirith Gurat. There's a lot going on this setup card, so I'll walk you through it as we go. This quest is a very complicated quest to play. There's lots of crazy triggers and timings to keep track of, and I'm going to do my best, but I do make a couple mistakes, but none of them affect the outcome of the game. Just the types of mistakes that you get mad at yourself for making when you're editing a video. Okay, let's get into this setup. So the Uruk Chieftain is back. He's going to be set aside out of play. We got to pick an Orc, so I chose the Uruk of Mordor. He's a 2/4/2/4, and then each ally with willpower less than the Uruk of Mordor's threat cannot be declared a defender against him. After I draw my opening hand and take a mulligan if I want to, I will need to discard the top cards of my deck until I get an ally and attach that ally to him as a captured objective. We have a location called the Dungeon Cell in the staging area. It's one threat, then it gets plus threat equal to the willpower of any attached allies to it. And then forced when an ally is destroyed. If there isn't already an ally attached to this thing, you attach the ally to it. But we're going to start the game with an objective ally. Aban is attached to this, and he's a 1/1/1/3 Harad objective. And then response, after he exhausts, we get to choose a Harad character to get +1 to their stats until the end of the round. He's really an amazing objective ally. He's quite awesome. We also have this objective in the staging area. It's the Captives of Cirith Gurat. And this explains how the main mechanic of the quest works. So while a character is attached to an encounter card, it is considered to be a guarded objective with a blank text box. Force. When a character is attached to an encounter card, discard each token and attachment on that character. And forced, when an objective is free of encounters, it is rescued, and that character's owner takes control of it, exhausted. And this will be in play for the whole game. All right, so who's going to help us free all these captured Harad allies? Well, we have Galadriel. She's a 9-threat spirit hero with 4 willpower, 0/0, and 4 hit points. Noldor Noble. Galadriel cannot quest, attack, or defend. She's useless. Allies you control do not exhaust to commit to the quest the round they enter play. And then action, we can exhaust Galadriel to reduce our threat by 1 and draw a card limit once per round. We're also bringing Gandalf, so 14 threat, neutral, no sphere, 3/3/3/5, he's a starry. And then you may play with the top card of your deck face up. When Gandalf is playing that card, he is considered to have all of the resource icons limit once per phase, and a new hero to the progression series, Khalil. So he's the leader of the Harad here. He's got 10 threat, leadership, 2/2/2/4, Harad Noble. You may use resources from Khalil's resource pool to pay for Harad allies of any sphere. And then action, you can discard a Harad ally from your hand to ready a Harad character, limit once per phase. This is going to be extremely helpful in this quest, and this quest is a very good Harad quest because Aban is going to be boosting the Harad characters when he exhausts. And I just find that it's also pretty thematic to bring a Harad deck against this quest. So these Harad heroes are coming out and they're trying to free their brethren, and it's a good one for it. And there's also a chance you could get 1 or 2 of those big expensive Harad allies in for quote unquote free, because like right now, after I take my mulligan, if I want to, I will have to discard until I get an ally and attach it to that Uruk up in staging. And if it's one of the big Harad allies, well, once I defeat that Uruk, that ally's in play. So it's a good idea to bring a deck that has expensive allies into this quest with that chance. I mean, if you're going to go through all the hassle of freeing the ally, it might as well be a good one. Okay, here's my opening hand. Will of the West, Yazan, Firial, Daron's Runes, Hidden Cache, Khalil's Headdress. This isn't great. I'm really looking for Stargazer. And so let's see what my top card is, because it's face up. Ooh, that's Stargazer. Okay, so that is actually going to get attached to that Uruk. So I'm going to keep that hand because the Stargazer gets attached to that Uruk up in staging, because I was supposed to discard until I hit an ally. So at least now I know I have a chance to get the Stargazer. I really need it for this deck to work right. So let's continue on. And so I draw the second Daron's Runes, and I have a second Furial on top of my deck. Okay, well, I can't play lore cards in my hand, but I can play lore cards if they're on the top of my deck, limit once per phase. So let's draw that with Galadriel and drop my threat. And look, okay, we get Nenya, Galadriel's ring. So that's awesome. I will play that card off the top of my deck. You're allowed to do that once per phase. So Nenya will come in. I'll attach it to Galadriel. She now has the lore icon, and I can exhaust her and the ring to give somebody +4 willpower. I give her willpower to somebody. And then a Stargazer comes up. So I'm getting all these duplicates. So that's great. So a Stargazer came up, and I'm going to play Daron's Runes since I have a lore resource icon. And I draw a Stargazer and Gandalf's Staff. And now another copy of Furiel's on top of the deck. All right, well, this is fine. All right, let's play Daron's Runes again. And I draw Furiel and the Warden. I don't need all these copies of Furiel, so I'll just keep discarding the extras. I only need one. Eventually, I'd like to have Harad allies in my hand so I can discard them to ready characters, but right now I'm not too worried about it. I'm putting that marker on Gandalf to remind me I've used his ability already that phase. At the beginning of the quest phase, I will play the Daron's Runes off the top of my deck, and I get Shadowfax and the Flame of Arnor. The Flame of Arnor is really good early game for me. It's great having all these choices in my hand. I think I'll get rid of this Will of the West. I have a second copy. Hopefully I don't discard it at some point. And the top card is now Narya, so that is Gandalf's Ring. All right, we have found a lot of the good stuff I need. The trick with beating this quest with this deck is all about balance. I'm literally balancing on the edge of a knife the whole first few rounds. I'm only able to send very little willpower. I'm only sending 5 here. I'm trying not to raise my threat very much, and I just need to survive these first couple rounds. Hopefully I don't need to engage a lot of enemies, and I need to build up the board state. So what do we get? We get the Mines of Cirith Gurat. It's a 2-threat location, and while it's in the staging area, whenever we would reduce our threat, we only can reduce it by 1, no matter how much we reduced it by. Okay, so that was actually pretty good. I'm glad I didn't get the Surgy guard dog that would have attacked me. There's a whole bunch of cards I didn't want to see. So I only had to raise my threat by 1 from underquesting. And now let's travel to this dungeon cell and get that 2 threat out of staging. And once I clear that, I will get control of a bond, but I'll have to reveal an encounter card. I do not want to engage this guy. If I did, I could discard a Harad ally to ready Khail, but I don't want to deal with it. So keeping my threat down is very good. And hidden cash on top of the deck. Okay, so I really wish I had a good way to discard it. I do have that Flame of Arnor, so I could discard it with that. Let's play Gandalf's Staff. So Gandalf's Staff is a great card. It gives you 3 options. You can either add a resource to somebody, you can discard a shadow card, or you can draw a card. So it's good to get some options on the table right now. That's what I need. I need to have answers to questions. And I am going to send everybody on the quest. I don't think I'll clear this location, but I also don't want to raise my threat. So I think it's better to send Galadriel's willpower on the quest versus reducing my threat by 1. And we get a 3-threat enemy. That is 40 engagement, so I don't need to worry about that guy. We make 2 of the 5 progress needed to clear the active location. I'm perfectly fine with that. This is really good. And now I think I will engage the Uruk. And I'm thinking about it for quite a while. I actually spend quite a long time thinking about this. I'm going to engage that Uruk so I can get that threat out of staging, and I do have a way to ready Gandalf. I will play my single copy of Flame of Arnor, so it costs 1 and then action. You can add it to the victory display to discard the top card of your deck, and you can ready an Astari character, giving that character plus X attack, where X was the cost of the card. So I don't need the attack. Well, I do, but I'm not going to use it. I don't have a way to kill this guy quite yet, but I'm going to discard this hidden cache, which says after it's discarded off the top of your deck, give a hero 2 resources. So I spent 1 and I'm gaining 2, so that was a good net, but it also readied Gandalf. So now he can defend against this guy who's attacking for 4. Arwen's on top of the deck. That's great. Ooh, gosh, there's an encounter card I don't want to reveal. The shadow boosted the Uruk's attack by 1, so Gandalf will take 2 damage. I will exhaust his staff to give Khail a resource, and then now we will go into the next round. We draw Arwen and we get Wizard Pipe. Yes! Can you tell I'm pumped? I'm pumped. I needed Wizard Pipe. I have 2 copies plus Bilbo. That is a key card in this deck, so you attach it to Gandalf, and then I can swap the top card of my deck with a card in my hand. Oh my goodness, did that come at a good time. So let's spend the resource and get that, and I get another Stargazer, so that's my 3rd one. Okay, that's interesting. Well, first things first, I have 5 resources on Khail. Let's make sure we mark that Gandalf already did his once a phase thing. But Keel has 5 resources, so Furial's coming in, she quests for 3, and then response. After she commits to the quest, look at the top card of the encounter deck. If you don't like it, discard it. So it feels really good to get her in. That is going to be extremely helpful. And now Galadriel has 2 resources, and I have a decision to make. And I spend a lot of time thinking again. That's what you do in this quest with this deck. You think and think and think and think and try to math out the best possible outcome for yourself and make a very strategic decision with acceptable risk. And so I'm trying to decide, do I want to put Stargazer in or do I want to play a different card? But I decide I will play this Stargazer even though I could potentially get one off of the Uruk, and I'm going to be drawing another. I just really want to start organizing my deck. It's really important. So I decide, even though I have 2 other Stargazers within my gaze, I'm going to play her. So you exhaust her, and then you look at the top 5 cards and rearrange them. So let's take a peek. Okay, there's a Test of Will. I don't have any resources yet, and I have a lot of 2-cost cards. So my thinking was I want to keep the Stargazer on top of my deck, in my deck. That's a good target to discard to Sigil Minor once I get him. Alrighty, so I arranged them, and now I'm going to exhaust Gandalf's staff to give Galadriel a resource, so I can play that Test of Will in the quest phase if Treachery comes out that I want to cancel. And I'm only questing for 5. Furial does not exhaust to commit to the quests. And we get, oh boy, decision time. This is going to be a tricky decision. Injured Companion. I either have to raise my threat by 1 for each character I control or discard a character I control. I could Furial it away. I could discard it. But I really like revealing no threat. I don't want to lose any of these characters. And I also don't want to raise my threat because I'll have to engage that enemy up in staging. So once again, spending lots of time thinking, I know I need to get rid of it. It's just a matter of, do I use Furial or a Test of Will? Furial could reveal something worse. So I feel like I'll just Test of Will this. If Furial reveals like a 3-threat enemy that might engage me, that would be worse, I think. So I think the risk of her revealing an enemy I have to deal with is worth using a Test of Will. So I'm glad I gave Galadriel that resource, and then I get a refugee on top of my deck. All right, time to think again. What do I want to do here? Do I want to use Nenya to clear this location? I would get a Ban, but then I'd also have to reveal an encounter card. It's a lot of thinking, guys. When you play this quest, you really have to debate and make the decisions based on what you think you're going to be able to handle. When you get these captured objectives on the first stage, you always have to reveal another encounter card. I decide I'm going to use Galadriel's ability to drop my threat, and I'm just going to draw that refugee. I'd also like to dig a little deeper in my deck and try to find a Sigil Minor. So going through the cards is good. I'm not going to engage anything. I'm going to stay engaged with this guy. Gandalf will defend again. No shadow, so Gandalf will take 1 damage. And even though Furial is ready, she doesn't have enough attack to do anything. So let's head into the refresh phase. You raise your threat, everybody readies, and then I'm going to use the action window in the refresh phase to exhaust Stargazer. There's no treacheries that deal damage to exhausted characters, so it's okay for her to be exhausted. And oh, there's Ziggy. Okay, great. So digging down helped, and I'm going to arrange the deck like so. We're going to put this tribesman on top of the deck, so that's a nice Harad ally. We're going to collect resources. We draw him into our hand, and our top card is Ziggy. So I made sure to put him on top so Galadriel and Gandalf could pay for him. So what you do with him is you exhaust him and you name a number, and then you discard the top 2 cards of your deck. And for every card you discarded that has that cost of your named number, you gain 1 resource to put on a hero. So both resources have to go on the same hero if both are the same cost. He's excellent. I could wait to do this because he technically could quest for 1 without exhausting, but I am going to be using him in the planning phase so I can get resources. Okay, so my top card is a 2-cost card, and I am going to exhaust Ziggy and say 2. Of course, I set up my deck to do this, so there's a 2-coster, and there goes that Stargazer. So it did work keeping her in the deck. That was a good plan. Kael's going to collect those resources. Now my top card is an Elrond's Council, but because of that location and staging, the mines, I can only reduce my threat by 1. And then I debate about which card to play. I could play the ring on Gandalf. I could play the headdress. I have a couple of allies I could get in play. So once again, trying to make a good decision. I want to get a body on the table, and I also want to get Narya in play. So Narya goes on Gandalf. He gets the leadership icon, but I can exhaust the ring and Gandalf to ready 2 allies, and they get +1 to their attack and defense. So that is good. It gives me some action advantage. And then I'm going to use Gandalf's staff to get 1 more resource. And then Khalil is going to pay for Khalil's tribesman, so he can exhaust and give a Harad character +1 attack, defense, and willpower. So that's good. I got 2 cards that boost stats in on this round, so that was a good call. And I'm getting some allies in play, so feeling pretty good about that. I could have also played Shadowfax. I had a lot of choices, really. It was a big decision to make. So if I send the tribesman who doesn't exhaust, Furial, and Khalil, I'm sending 6, and then I get, geez, oh Pete, really? Another injured companion? Would you guys stop getting hurt? Okay, so either raise my threat for each character, or discard a character, or Furial it away. Well, it's better than an enemy. I don't want an enemy. So I can't cancel it with Test of Will. I think I just got to lose a character, and it's going to be the Stargazer. I have that other one attached to the Uruk, so I should get another Stargazer in play. She did really good. Thank you so much for your help. Unfortunately, I'm going to have to discard you. And so we actually make a progress, which is kind of amazing. I didn't use Galadriel and Nenya yet. So now I need to decide, do I want to use Galadriel and Nenya to increase my willpower by 4? I think I do. Let's get moving. Let's move along. So we're going to increase my willpower by 4, which is enough to place a couple progress and clear that location. We get Aban. So once he exhausts, he comes in exhausted, so this doesn't count. But when he exhausts, you get to choose a Harad character to add +1 to all their stats. We have to reveal a card, and we get the Gate of Iron. So it's 3 threat, 2 progress, and while it's in the staging area, you can't place progress on locations in the staging area. That's no big deal for this deck. And then to travel there, we have to discard the top card of the encounter deck, and then we have to discard a card from our hand that costs more than that card's threat, or we have to raise our threat. Okay, so this travel effect makes me discard 3 cards off the top of my deck, and I have to raise my threat by 1 for each ally. All right, well, what I'm going to do is I'm going to use Wizard's Pipe, swap that Elrond's Council for the hidden cache that I had in my hand, discard the next 2 cards as well. One of them was an ally, but because I discarded that hidden cache, I'm going to gain 2 resources. So that's a neat little trick you can do in this quest. And then I raised my threat by 1, and now we're going to get attacked. And I still don't think I can get rid of this guy. So he's attacking for 4, and allies have to have at least 2 willpower to defend against him. So I'm going to exhaust the tribesmen to give Khalil +1 defense. And then I'm going to use Gandalf and Narya to ready 2 characters. So I will ready the tribesmen and Furial. So let's discard the refugee from my hand so Khalil can ready, and then I'll exhaust the tribesmen to give Khalil another +1 to his defense. So he is defending for a total of 4 against 4. This is a nasty shadow, so if your ally has less willpower than the enemy's threat that's attacking, that enemy grabs that ally and you cancel the attack. Doesn't matter for this. Furial can't do anything. There was no way for me to ready enough characters to actually kill this guy. So no damage, and no damage to the enemy. So we've done really well so far with never having to get overrun by enemies. That's how I've lost with this deck against this quest quite a few times, is I get too many enemies early on. All right, so next round, Nenya's on top, so I will say 1 with Ziggy, and we discard Nenya and Bilbo, so we get 1 resource because of that. No more Stargazer to rearrange the deck at the moment. I do have a lot of resources on Khalil, but I'm going to play Shadowfax, so Gandalf now has all of his toys. So Gandalf has ranged and Sentinel, that doesn't matter, but he can ready by exhausting Shadowfax. So I can use Gandalf for 1 of his stats, and then I can use him to ready 2 characters. All right, let's use the pipe to swap out and put Arwen on top of the deck. Let's use the staff to give a resource to help pay for Arwen. So now when she exhausts, she's going to boost someone's defense by 1. Arwen won't be exhausting this round to go on the quest, but that's okay. Hey, all right, and Elrond's Council ends up on top of my deck because I no longer have that location and staging in the quest phase, I'm going to play that one off the top of my deck, plus the one in my hand to drop my threat by 6. That feels great. And I will give Furial +2 willpower. She'll commit to the quest for 5. Arwen for 2. And Aban will commit for 1. He will boost Kyle. So now I am sending a total of 8 against 6. And we reveal another Gate of Iron. So it's a 3-threat location. I will use Galadriel and Nenya to leapfrog the threat marker, and I make 3 progress, which is enough to clear the active location. So that's good. And now I need to decide, do I want to travel to one of these Gates of Iron? To get through the gate, I need to discard the top card of the encounter deck and then discard a card from my hand that costs more than that card's threat. If I can't, I have to raise my threat. Okay, so either one of those costs is not a big deal based on my hand and my threat. So let's see what we get. It is a 2-threat enemy, so I need to spend a card or discard a card that costs 3. I don't need 2 copies of Shadowfax, so no problem there. And let's do combat. I wonder if I can kill this guy this time. It's been a while since I've been able to kill an enemy this game. It's pretty crazy. All right. Arwen will exhaust to defend and boost herself. So she is defending for 2. And then I will use Gandalf and Narya to ready her. So she is now defending for 3. And I'm also going to ready Aban. And I guess I was thinking Aban or the tribesman could boost her defense one more time, or she could exhaust one more time. So I think about going back and not doing it this way because it's a 3 against 4, so she could die. But I decide, what the heck, let's just take a risk and do it. Okay, no shadow. She definitely could have died. There are shadows that do +1. So when I started doing this, I was thinking she was going to be defending for 4. But I have plenty of people to attack because Gandalf is still ready. So he can attack for 3. Kyle can attack for 2. The tribesman can attack for 1. Aban can attack for 1. So we finally rescue this Stargazer. And then I forget that I'm supposed to reveal an encounter card for rescuing that Stargazer, but I remember after I commit characters to the quest next round. So let's fast forward and we will see what card that is. It's not going to matter with anything I did in planning. Okay, so here we are in the quest phase, and I remember this is the card I should have revealed after rescuing the Stargazer. It's taken prisoner. I got to take one of my allies and attach it to a card in the staging area. So this tribesman that I wasn't using anyway will be the prisoner. So that was me going, hey, wait a minute, I never revealed that card. So let's attach that tribesman to the Iron Gate up in staging, and now we will go back the end of the combat phase. We just rescued Stargazer, and now we are going to go into the refresh phase where everybody will ready. I'll raise my threat by 1, and we will use Stargazer to look at my next 5 cards. Okay, so here's my next 5 cards. 3 Harad allies. I want to try to get those in my hand or on the table. So let's put a refugee on top. Everybody's going to collect a resource. We're going to draw the refugee. The top card is another Ziggy. I'm going to use the Ziggy in play. I'm going to say 2 and discard a 2-cost and a 3-cost card. So I get 1 resource. The next top card is a tribesman. I will now use the wizard pipe to swap the tribesman with Yazane, who I have in my hand, or maybe it's Yazan. And now I can spend resources to put Yazan into play. So he's an amazing ally. He has 2 willpower, 3 attack, 1 defense, 3 hit points, range, and then after he's declared an attacker, you can deal a damage to a non-unique enemy in play. So really awesome. So he's now in play. So I have a good attacker. I have a tribesman on top of my deck. And things are looking good, and I'm ready to move on. And this quest is far from over. This is a long quest. So if you get lucky enough to make it through the first stage, the next 2 stages are still pretty tough. I'm going to spend Galadriel's resources after I gave her 1 with the staff to put in a Warden of Healing, so now I can start doing some healing. But he's going to quest for 1 without exhausting. And then Aban and maybe it's Aban. I don't know how to pronounce any of these people. Aban and Arwen are both going to exhaust to quest, and Aban is going to boost Yazan, and Arwen's going to boost Kyle's defense. I think I said all that right. We are also sending Furial and Gandalf. And this is what reminds me that I never revealed an encounter card after saving the Stargazer, so let's fast forward through this. The tribesman is now locked behind an iron gate, and we reveal another Uruk Wargrider. So that's going to be 3 threat. It's 40 engagement, so I don't need to worry about it yet. We make enough progress to clear the active and make 1 on the quest. I think I am going to use Galadriel to drop my threat by 1 and draw a card now that I have that second Wargrider up there type enemy. I want to travel and I want to kill one of these enemies, and I can't advance until I have no more captured objectives anyway, so there's really no hurry on placing progress. So to travel there, you gotta discard the top card. It had 0 threat, so I need to discard a card that costs 1 or more. So there's goes my second Ziggy. Okay, let's engage this Uruk Wargrider. So when he's attacking somebody, he gets plus X attack, where X is the difference between his threat and the defender's willpower. And this makes me realize, where the heck is Jubair? Jubair's my big defender, and I haven't even seen a single copy of him yet. So now I need to figure out how I'm going to handle this guy. Khail's defending for 3, and he has 2 willpower. So that means the Wargrider is attacking for 4 against 3. That's not bad. So let's go 4 against 3 for the attack. And the shadow is nothing. Okay, so Khail's going to take 1 damage. As you can see, I used the Warden already to heal off Arwen and Gandalf for 1 damage. And now, can I kill this guy? Let's see. He takes 6. So yeah, Yazan and Gandalf are both ready. So that was enough to kill him. And we're going to go into the next round where, once again, in the refresh phase, I'm going to use Stargazer to take a peek at the next 5. It looks like I forgot to damage that Uruk Wargrider up in staging. I could have with Yazan. Okay, oh, there's Jubair. Okay, great. So I have Jubair in hand, so I just need to arrange this so I can get some resources with Ziggy. And I want to draw that Will of the West, because I'm going to want to shuffle my discard pile in here pretty quick. So everyone's going to get their resources. We draw Will of the West. The top card is going to be a 2-cost card. I am going to exhaust Ziggy, and I will say 2. They cost 2, because our next card was a refugee. So that's 2 more resources, which is going to give me a total of 5. And I'm going to spend them all on the top card of the deck, which is Jubair. So there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So Jubair is going to come into play. He's amazing. He's a 1, 2, 3, 3 Sentinel, and then response after he's declared a defender, or after he exhausts to defend, I should say. You can discard a shadow card from a non-unique enemy. That's amazing. So he can defend without a shadow, and that just makes him awesome. So he is now in play. He's not going to exhaust to quest this round. So let's send Khail for 2, Gandalf for 3, Furial for 3, Jubair for 1, and then I'm going to exhaust Aban. So Aban will boost Jubair's willpower by 1, and then Arwen is questing for 2. So when it's all said and done, I am sending 13 against 3. The card we reveal is Tormented by Orcs. So each player raises their threat by the number of captured objectives they control. Okay, well, I have 1 card that is a captured objective, so that means I have to raise my threat by 1. And I added no threat. So first you clear the active location, which means I rescued the tribesman, which means I reveal a card and I get the prison guard. He's a 3/4/1/4. He gets +2 defense while he's guarding a captured objective. And then if he damages an ally during an attack, you attach that ally to him. Okay, so we actually make enough to move on to stage 2. Finally. All right, stage 2 is sneak past the guards. This is a real neat mechanic here on this quest. We got to shuffle the discard pile into the encounter deck, and then we're going to discard until we get an enemy and add that enemy to the staging area. So I'm always hoping to discard cards and get an enemy that has like a when revealed or a surge. This is the time to get them. So hopefully we get that. So let's see what we get. Not an enemy. And, okay, nope. Actually, we got like the worst possible choice. Okay, so he's a 4 threat, 3/2/5. Forced after he engages you. You attach an ally to him as a captive. And, yeah, he's 45 engagement. That was not a good choice. There was much better options I would have liked to have gotten. Okay, So that's 3 nice big enemies we have up in staging. That's not great. All right, 2B, 15 quest points. Each enemy in the staging area cannot take damage and gets plus X engagement, where X is the number of progress tokens here. And then forced at the end of the round, reveal an encounter card. That's fun. Then place 1 resource here if no enemies were engaged this round. So if we don't engage anything, we place a resource there. That's not going to happen this round. The players cannot defeat the stage unless there's at least 2 resources here. So we need to sneak around the dungeons for 2 rounds, never damaging or engaging enemies. And then we're going to advance to stage 3. And as you can imagine, that's going to lead for a pretty big battle. All right, let's have Galadriel get another Harad ally into my hand and drop my threat by 1. And let's go into this combat phase. This is going to be tricky. Okay, so I'm going to have to engage one of the enemies because of my threat. So let's engage this jailer because he's pretty terrible. He's going to grab that tribesman again. I guess he's just one of those allies that just can't not get captured. Just leave him behind. Jeez. All right, and then let's grab the guard there. So if he damages somebody, he's going to grab that ally. So I just have to make sure whoever defends him doesn't take any damage. And I'm really trying to figure out how can I kill both of these. I'm pretty sure I could do it. I just got to plan correctly. So Jubair is defending for 5 thanks to Aban and Arwen. So this attack is going to be 5 against 4, and he can discard the shadow card. So I know I'm not going to take any damage. The shadow was nothing, of course. That's how that works. And then we can use Gandalf's staff to discard the other shadow card. So that's great. Nothing, of course. You know, whenever you discard shadows, they are nothing, it seems. All right, so now here's where I really thought. How can I use Nenya and discarding Harad allies to ready Harad characters, and I still need to defend this attack with no shadow. And what I decide to do is put 3 damage on Galadriel as undefended, because there's no effects that deal damage to random characters, and I have the Warden of Healing. But I forget to put it on her. So after all that thinking, I just forget to put it on her because I knew it didn't matter. I was just hyper-focused on how I'm going to kill these guys, and I forgot to put the damage on her. But trust me, it's not going to matter. Here I am still making sure I'm doing this right. All right, how do I do this? So what I need to do is discard Yazan from my hand. So there we go. That was the trick. So I'm discarding Yazan to ready Jubair. Now I can do it. Jubair is currently attacking for 3. Yazan is attacking for 3. And then because of Nenya, they're both going to ready. So now they're both attacking for 4. So that is 8 total attack, which means I can kill the prison jailer guy. I forget his name. Jailer, I think. That gives me the tribesman back, and I no longer have to reveal a card. That was only quest stage 1. And then Yazan and Jubair are both ready, so they can kill the prison guard, and I did figure out how to kill both these enemies. And then I realized earlier in the game I should have put a damage on that warg up in staging when Yazan was declared an attacker, although he can't put a second damage on that warg right now because enemies in the staging area can't take damage. This quest, I'm telling you, man, it is just so confusing with all these different triggers each stage. But when it's all said and done, I did everything right except put the damage on Galadriel. But honestly, it's not going to matter. I have the Warden of Healing, and as you will see later in the quest, even if she just kept 3 damage on her for the rest of the game, it would not matter. So sorry about that mistake, but I really wanted to make sure I got combat right this round, because it was pretty tricky with all these readying and boosting. So I'm glad I was able to sort that out. Okay, so in the refresh phase, Stargazer is doing her thing, and then after I arrange these cards, I've already raised my threat. We are going to reveal an encounter card because that's what the quest card says. And then we do not get to place a resource on the quest because we did engage enemies this round. So next round, we need to make sure we put progress on the quest so I don't have to engage anything, and we can start getting resources on the quests. All right, end of the round. So next card up is Dungeon Cell. It's going to surge, and then when an ally is destroyed, it's going to go attached to it, and that surges into an Uruk from Mordor. So we've seen him before. So we added 3 threat, and like I said, we're just going to go into this next round and plan on doing massive willpower and trying to get as much progress on this quest as we can so we don't have to engage anything. So let's go into the planning phase. I drew a Warden of Healing. The top card is a 1-coster, so I will say Ziggy for 1, discard 2 1-cost cards and get 2 more resources. And then the next 2 cards are both Jubair, and I'll draw both of those cards, one with Galadriel and one with the Staff. I do forget to drop my threat with Galadriel. That's okay, though. And then I have 1 card left in my deck, and it's a hidden cache. So I don't really need cash at this point. Let's play Khail's Headdress. So you attach to Khail, it's restricted. Each Harad character gets +1 willpower. And then in the refresh phase, I can shuffle a Harad ally from my deck into the discard pile. So, no, I said that wrong. From my discard pile into my deck. There we go. Speaking of shuffling the discard pile into your deck, I'm going to play Will of the West. And now I'm going to shuffle all of my cards back in and get a brand new deck. So let's do that. All right, so we basically have a new deck to work through. Our top card is, ooh, hey, nice, Test of Will. Okay, that's great. I'm just going to send as much as I can here, right? So we are up against 6, and I'm going to send everybody and then ready Gandalf with Shadowfax. The Headdress is boosting all Harad characters, and Aban is boosting one of them. So when it's all said and done, I am sending 23 willpower. Let's double check the quest card, make sure I'm not forgetting anything. Okay, yeah, so it's at the end of the round that I need to reveal a card. All right, the card I reveal is a Surging Dog. Nope, Furial. Get rid of that. I don't want that. And then instead we get Enfeebled. So I have to exhaust a character until the end of the combat phase. Characters can't ready. Well, that would really suck at the wrong time. But right now it does nothing. All it does is exhaust Gandalf, which is kind of a shame because I was planning on using Narya to ready the Warden of Healing. That's okay. So nothing happens, and I make 17 progress on the quest, which is going to boost the engagement cost of all the enemies by 17, which means I don't need to engage anybody. Let's travel to this dungeon cell. I should be able to clear it next round. It's 5 progress. Nothing to travel there. And yeah, so we're going to go into the refresh phase. I'll use Stargazer. A quick gaze into the stars during the refresh phase lets me find a bunch of 2-cost cards, and I still have that Test of Will, of course. I'll make sure I draw that, and then I can discard a bunch of 2-costers and get some resources. And you can still play allies, we just can't engage enemies or anything, so these turns actually go pretty quick. Let's see what we reveal at the end of the round. Okay, it's another Mines of Cirith Gurat, so it's just a 2-threat location. Very glad it was not an enemy. You can get enemy swarmed here at the end. It's pretty tricky, but that's just a 2-threater that doesn't let me drop my threat. All right, so going into the next round, Ziggy's going to say 2, and they both cost 2. And then we're going to pop 2 allies into play. So I have a lot of cards in hand. I'm going to play Khail's Tribesman using Khail's resources, and then I'm going to play Bilbo off of my deck, and that's going to let me search my deck for a pipe, which just, gets my deck a little thinner, and also doing a shuffle right now is fine. I already pretty much used all the cards that I peeked at with Stargazer. And then this time, when we send characters on the quest, you don't want to send everybody, even though at the end of the round is when you advance. It is possible to have a surge train happen or something. There is a guard dog that could attack me, so even if I used Furial to get rid of one enemy, I could reveal the dog, which then could reveal another enemy. And sometimes at this point, I find that you might want to engage some enemies just to clear them out. And then the next round, we'll place the second the second resource on the quest. You don't have to do these back to back where you go 2 rounds in a row not engaging enemies. It's sometimes advantageous to spend 1 round, put the resource, the next round, kill some enemies, and then the next round, place the resource. So I'm not sending everybody. I only need to make enough progress to clear this active location, really. I'm fine as far as progress goes. So let's see what we get. Okay, this treachery just makes all my allies have -1 to their stats. Well, that's fine. So I don't need to engage anybody. I think going into stage 3 with only 2 enemies in staging at the end of the quest phase is pretty darn good. It's pretty hard to have anything better than that, because we still have to reveal a card at the end of the round here before we can advance to stage 3. So we might get a 3rd enemy. We might get a surging dog that will go into a 4th enemy, but I think we're okay. All right, we're not going to travel there. Let's make sure we do this right. At the end of the round, we got to reveal an encounter card, and then we place the token if we didn't engage anybody. So that means you have to do the refresh phase first. This is what I mean about this quest, just throwing all these weird triggers and timings at you. You got to really be aware of where you are in the 7 steps of a round. And that's how I can forget like standard game rules like adding damage or whatever, because I'm really, really trying to make sure I do all this other timing stuff right, and you can get distracted. So Stargazer actually is going to use the action window in the refresh phase to rearrange my top 5 cards. So I think I'll arrange them like that. So then we go to the end of the refresh phase, then the end of the round happens, so we reveal a card. Ooh, it's another Mines. Okay, that's fine. I'm totally fine with that. I guess I'm never dropping my threat by a lot anymore. We place the second resource, and now we go to quest card 3A. Fight your way out. As you can see, it's a wall of text, so instead of just reading it to you, I'm just going to walk through it step by step as I actually do it. So the first thing you do is you take the Uruk Chieftain and you add him to the staging area. 4, 5, 3, 6. Orc Uruk cannot have player attachments or be optionally engaged. While the engaged player is engaged with another Orc enemy, he can't take damage, and then he will always engage the player engaged with the most Orc enemies at the end of the encounter phase. Well, that's always going to be me, so he's going to be engaging me, and he's pretty terrible. Then you need to choose one of your heroes and discard all tokens and attachments from that hero and attach it to an enemy in the staging area. That's why Galadriel getting those 3 damage was not a big deal, because I knew she was going to get captured. And then any enemy that is not guarding somebody has an engagement of 0, and you make a round of engagement checks right now. And I make a mistake here, I hope you guys don't mind, but I accidentally engage the Uruk that is guarding Galadriel, because I was thinking I want to engage it, so I optionally engaged it. But you're only supposed to make the engagement checks. You're not actually doing the optional engagement portion of the engagement check phase, so that Uruk should still be up in the staging area, contributing its 2 threat. Okay, 3B is 10 progress needed. Forced at the beginning of the quest phase, discard cards until we get an enemy and add it to the staging area. Yet one more thing I need to remember to do that's different than all the other stages. And then this stage cannot be defeated if there is a guarded objective in play. If there's no guarded objectives and we have 10 progress, the players have won the game. Okay, now where in the heck are the round are we? We're at the end of the round. So now we go into the resource phase. And no Galadriel, so I don't have a spirit or lore resource icon match for cards in my hand, but I arranged the deck so the Test of Will is on my deck, so Gandalf can pay for that. I have tons of Harad allies in my hand, which is exactly what you want to have at this point, so I can ready characters, limit once per phase. And I think I will play one of these Khail's tribesmen just to get all 3 into play, and then I'll keep all the other allies in my hand. I don't have Galadriel anymore, so he will have to exhaust if I want to commit him to the quest. That's kind of easy to forget. If you've been playing this quest and you've had a hero that's been doing something the whole game, now you got to kind of reset in your brain that hero is not in play. Okay, so I don't think I can send enough willpower to put the 10 progress on the quest and then still have enough people to handle combat. Because remember, I'm supposed to discard cards till I get an enemy at the beginning of the quest phase. I do it here in a second, but I should have done that before I exhausted characters. Okay, there's my enemy, so luckily it's just added, so this guy normally gets attached to somebody, but he's just getting added. So that's at least 4 attacks I'm going to have to deal with. And let's not also forget there should be 2 more threat in the staging area, because I should not have engaged that Uruk that's guarding Galadriel yet. But yeah, I knew I could not make 10 progress. I need to worry about combat. This is what this quest does. You need to have a big plan for combat when you advance to stage 3, because you at the minimum, I think, are going to have to deal with 4 enemies. I'd be shocked if you deal with anything less than 4 enemies. So I'm going to discard Jabir right now to ready Khail, because again, that's once per phase. The headdress is boosting Harad allies. Aban and Arwen boosted Jabir. So we have a lot of boosts going on. I'm going to put some graphics on here to help explain where everything is getting boosted. Sending a lot on the quest. And yeah, it's another enemy. I don't want to deal with it. I would have to engage it based on my threat. So I think Furial is going to get rid of this guy. And we get a torture room, which makes us discard cards from the top of our deck until we get an ally the torture room captures that ally, and then you discard all other copies of that ally that you have in play, which really stinks. So we don't want to do that because we can't win if we have captured objectives in play. So yeah, I would have lost Furial. So no thanks. So let's cancel that sucker. That is pretty bad. You need to have a way to handle that. Playing a deck of one-ofs, so only one copy of each ally is a good tech against that one. All right, so we make some progress, but not enough. It should actually be 2 less. We can now travel. There's no travel effect on that torture room. So let's just travel there and get that threat out of staging. We have to engage the warg up in staging area. So, yep, big combat phase. I could optionally engage the Uruk now. So combat is correct. And 4 attacks coming. And this is where you really have to know how to massage your deck. Like, you need to plan ahead. You just can't start throwing allies willy-nilly at these attacks. You need to have a plan. So my plan, with Jubair currently defending for 5, and he's got 2 willpower boosts, so he can defend against this guy who says you can't defend if your willpower is less. And he's going to discard the Shadow, so the Shadow is gone. And then I'm going to chump block with Ziggy against the Chieftain. He's attacking for 5. Ziggy's going to die. I'm just making sure there was no effect that said if I destroy an ally, something happens. If I had that dungeon cell up in staging, the Ziggy would get attached to that, but I don't have that location in play. All right, 2 more attacks to go. I will discard Jubair here in the combat phase to ready Jubair. So he is still defending for 5, but he cannot discard shadow cards anymore. That's limit once per phase. And so this shadow says return the enemy to the staging area. That's fine. I didn't think I could kill all these enemies anyway. And then we have this attack coming, so I'll use Gandalf's Staff to get rid of that shadow. There was a shadow until the end of the round. Defending character cannot ready. Okay. I'm just going to take that undefended. So I'm going to take 2 damage on Khalil. And then Khalil is attacking along with Yazan. And then I'm going to trigger Gandalf and Narya to ready Yazan and Jubair. So Yazan just got a boost and Jubair got another boost. So that is enough to kill the Uruk. So the Uruk is dead. We get Galadriel back, exhausted. We're still engaged with 2 enemies. Yazan by himself is attacking for 4. So he can kill this warg and never mind the damage I'm putting on this enemy up in staging. I know it's not right. So I only should be doing it once per round. He's got a limit once per round, and I think it should have like 2 damage on it, maybe 3 at the most. I know I didn't do that right throughout the game, but it never kills it, so it doesn't matter. I don't have enough attack to kill this Chief Uruk guy, so I just damage him a little bit, and that was a very successful round of combat on this very difficult turn. So we end the turn by using the Warden, and now all we got to do is get up to 10 progress on the quest, and we will be fine because we don't have any objectives. So let's go into the refresh phase, and we will gaze at some stars. There really isn't anything too special that I could find, maybe some hidden cache. I have a Test of Will in hand already. So, okay, we got some 2 costers, we got another refugee, so I'll just leave it like it is. That was fine. All right, we're going to collect some money. Galadriel's back, so I actually get her resource. We'll grab the refugee, and then the next 2 cards are going to cost 2, but I lost my Ziggy, so I kind of forgot about that. All right, the refugee is going to come into play, so she's good to get in early. You exhaust her to reduce the cost of the next Harad ally by 1, but she's just going to come in, and she doesn't exhaust a quest, and she's questing for 2 thanks to the headdress, so that's a good card to get in play. Like I said, we're just questing to win here. Let's discard until we get an enemy. Okay, it's another Uruk from Mordor, so that's 2 more threat. So once we calculate all the threat, we are at 9, I believe. So the active location, I think, is a 4. And then we really need to make 4 progress on the quest to do it right. But obviously, I have a ton of willpower. If I had 2 less progress on the quest, I probably would have sent a couple more willpower here. But obviously, I got it. So Furial is going to be able to cancel the first card. If it's junk, I have a Test of Will in my hand to cancel the when revealed on any treacheries that come out. So let's just see what the final card is that we reveal this game. And we should have a victory here, folks. So this is a very difficult quest. It can steamroll you pretty easy. All right, yeah, this is that Surgy dog. Nope, we're getting rid of that. We don't need that. He attacks when he's revealed. Taken prisoner is the next card. We'd have to take an ally we control and attach it to a card up in staging. We don't want to do that because we can't win if there is a guarded objective in play. So we're going to cancel that with a test of will. And we have made enough progress to clear the active location and place progress on the quest. So that is a victory, guys. So we have no guarded objectives. We placed the 10 progress, and we have beat this quest. And I'm glad to be done with it. This was a very hard quest to make sure I played right. And as you could see, I did miss a few things. It's not one that you can just sit down and play for a nice, easy game. You really need to be focused on all these different triggers and timings. And it's surprisingly difficult. The enemies hit really hard. I did not remember it being this difficult, so I had trouble beating this thing. So, hope you enjoyed this video. Take care, everybody. Bye-bye.